Check, 1, 2. Hey everyone, it is the chaplain here, coming to you with a little bit of a live feed. Here we go. I'm going to click on and watch my own video. Makes no sense, I know. All right. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, those of you that are here. I've got my laptop next to me this time, so if there are any questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead and bring them up. For those of you that aren't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and make sure that you do subscribe so that we can have a little, the little notification bell. Make sure that you ring into that. So, the first thing I wanted to cover in this video, before we get to the matchups, the fun part that everyone's been waiting on, I wanted to quickly go over the point system, the way that the points will work in this tournament. Some of you are familiar with the BBR point system, and some of you are not. So for those of you that aren't, this will be a good lesson. For those of you that are, this will be a quick refresher. I'm not going to go into 100 billion details, but if you go back to my channel, my playlist called BBR Explained, I do go over the victory conditions, and I list all of the points that will be available during our tournament. So right now, I'm in the middle of a game between myself and Lieutenant Dan, and let's just say that this was turn 8. All right, let's just call it turn 8. This game is over. I don't have the necessary points to win. I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 points, so I did not win. So that means the allies would get 10 points for winning. I would get 11 points because that's just what I have. I have 11 points, but the allies would get 10 points for winning, and then they would get a point for every originally Axis-controlled territory that they have. So right now, that looks like nothing over here because Japan's doing really well, but Ethiopia and Italian Somaliland, those have been taken, so that would be 2 more points. So in this instance, the allies would have 12 points and the Axis player would have 11 points. It's very easy. The victory cities from out of box, those are points. You've also got the oil points, you've got the resource points, you've got Ukraine and Urals and, Manchuria, Siberia. So there are other points, the Atlantic Wall point, the Reich point, etc., etc. Those are the points. Now, there is no elimination. You just accumulate points, and that will determine who you play on day 2. So if you have 12 points and your opponent has 11 points, you win, great, but now you swap sides for the next day. And I will rank everyone on day 2 based on the points they earned on day 1. So let's say this was an Axis victory. Let's say I had my 12 victory points. I would get my 12 points, plus I would get my 10 points for winning, but I would lose 2 points because I've lost Ethiopia and Italian Somaliland. So I would have 20 points, and the allied player would only get 2. So there are ways to earn points for either player on either side, for either team on either side, rather. It's really not too difficult. The BBR point system is very straightforward. It's very easy to understand. And so when we do pull for matchups, if you play the Axis on day 1, you will play the Allies on day 2, and I will rank you based on your points. So if we have 4 Axis games that, Axis players win all 4 games, that's fine. It's still based on points. So those 4 Axis players will now become Allied players, and they will play based on their position. So the most points Axis will play the most points that the Allies received that day. So that sounded really confusing. If you earn 24 points on day 1, then you're probably going to have the most points as the Axis. Then you'll play the highest ranked team on the Allies. That still sounded horrible. I don't know. It's been a long day. Anyway, that's the point system. That wasn't very well explained, but it happens. The other thing I want to explain is the timers. So each team will have 6 hours of playtime each. So the games should start at 9. All timers will start at 9. Germany, on every table, they're going to have to start their turn at 9 o'clock. Now, you can start your game earlier if you and your table mates are ready. That's fine. But by 9 o'clock, I will start every single timer. It needs to be started because we have to adhere to the timeline that we are allowed to be in the conference room that we're playing in. If you run out of time, if there is no time left on your clock, you do not get to move your units anymore. Your pieces are frozen. We're calling it the Casey rule. My wife kind of came up with it. She said, look, you ran out of time. You don't get to touch your pieces anymore. Well, what if it's only round 6? If it's only round 6, and I run out of time? Well, it looks like your opponent gets to make a whole lot of moves without you being able to do anything. So, well, that doesn't seem fair. It does. You either win in your allotted time period or you lose in your allotted time period. Now, running out of time doesn't mean that you lose. It just means you can't touch your pieces anymore. You can't reinforce. You can't move them non-combat. They're frozen. Your 6 hours is up. Your radio broke. You cannot contact your troops. It's done. And they're not smart enough to operate on their own. So that's how the timers are going to work. Very straightforward, very simple. If there is an official ruling that needs to take place, I personally will come over and stop your clock so that we're not draining time if it's a legitimate thing that you cannot figure out on your own. Try not to argue on your opponent's time. If you have a question that you need clarification on, come find me. All right. If I'm not available, just wait a couple minutes and I will be available. All right. But don't try to argue with your opponent while they are on the clock. That's not fair to them. Use your time to argue with your opponents on the table. But if you have a question that needs clearing up, obviously come to me and we'll figure it out together. It's pretty straightforward. That is just how it's going to be. We are supposed to be out of that room on Monday by 10 p.m., so there's going to be a lot of cleaning up for me happening during that day. What's basically going to happen is, after I match you up, you're going to play these people on day 1. Then you'll play, hopefully, a different pair on day 2 based on the ranking and your points. Matt Todd, thanks for saying clear enough. I felt like I really fumbled around that one, brother. So, you're going to play your opponents on day 2, and then the top 4 teams are going to go head-to-head in the medal rounds. So if you've been to a BBR tournament before, this is exactly the same way that Sired Blood does it. The top 4 points, teams with the top 4 points go to the medal rounds. You got gold, silver, bronze, and iron. But there's no elimination. Now, if you're not in the medal round on Monday, you are still free to stick around and play and hang out. You can set up the 1942. You can check out the 4.0 maps that we will have there and potentially be playing on. There's a lot of stuff for you to do, or you can leave. Not a problem. Totally okay. Monday is probably going to start a little bit earlier because we have to do prizes, unless you don't want prizes, and then you don't have to stick around. But we have some phenomenal prizes. I've already sent to the group a picture of some of our prizes, and so I wanted to go ahead and show you some more pictures of some more prizes that I have received. This is a tank from Mr. Scrubbert. I'm going to turn it a little so we can get a little bit better light here. And probably not on a white background like that. That was a doofy choice there, Rob. How about that? So this is a tank from Mr. Scrubbert, and you can see it's named Durban. All the tanks he sent me have names on them, which is pretty cool. This is done with a dry brush technique. He's also sent some U.S. infantry, and their hands and faces are painted flesh colored, which is crazy. This is also one of Mr. Scrubbert's, this Stuka dive bomber. Man, the dude paints the cockpit, all right? Like, I'm just blown away. Panzer King and I were actually having a conversation last night about painting and painted pieces, and there's a lot of people out there with some great talent, and Mr. Scrubbert is one of them. I'm just in awe. So there's an entire, I'll put these back up here. There's 5 tanks, about 20 infantry, and 3, 4, 5 mechanized that are all painted up by Mr. Scrubbert. That will be a prize in and of itself. And then there's an entire German Luftwaffe with some fighters and some tacticals and some strategic bombers. But then Mr. Scrubbert also painted up a UK Navy for us. So this is a destroyer. You can see here on the side this red, white, and 2 blue color scheme. The yellow mark on top. I mean, the deck is stinking wood colored. That's just incredible. So that's one. There's an entire UK Navy battleship with the flag on it. It's just phenomenal. And then aircraft carrier. I just brought a couple pieces out to showcase. But there we go. So those are some of the prizes. So if you want prizes, you should definitely stick around. Matt Todd is sending prizes. Detroit's bringing prizes. Sired is giving prizes, some maps as prizes. I have been acquiring prizes just left and right for us to have and for me to be able to give out to you guys for coming. HBG has supplied some. Rich from Combat Miniatures has supplied some. Let's see. My buddy Jake has donated to the cause. He pitched in some money so I could get all my pieces painted. So thank you, Jake. And thank you to all those who have donated. We've got some great prizes. So, day 1, what we're going to draw for. Day 2, you'll play based on your rank, which is based off of your points. Day 3, if you had enough points, you will play in the medal round. There is a special prize that will not be revealed because it is for the winners only. It will be revealed on that day for the winners. It'll be awesome. All right. So we have 8 teams. I have here 8 teams with player names, etc. on them, and they're going to go into my cup, which doesn't seem like a good idea. Let me see if I have a better cup or a better bowl, actually. Hold on. Nope, that's not good. Here we go. Is that better? I don't know if that's better. That might actually be worse. Give this a mix. Okay, so here we go. Da 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 da. All right. Now that doesn't feel right because I can see them, and we have a little surprise. So let me do something. Let me try one more thing. There we go. Okay, how about that? Birthday bag. Here we go. That was really lame. All right. Playing the Axis on day 1. Here we go. The first team playing the Axis on day 1 is going to be Richard Johnson and Ray. Their team name is Wild West. Congrats, guys. You are being the Axis on day 1. All right, number 2. Second Axis team on day 2. The Maverick Marauders, Colonel Teflon and Detroit. Very nice. Playing Axis. Everyone in my house is upstairs sleeping, so this is a lot of fun for me. All right, the third team playing the Axis are the Lieutenant Generals, which is General Fund and Lieutenant Dan. All right. And then last but not least, playing the Axis on day 1, we've got Hambone and Parker, team name coming soon. All right, there are your Axis teams for day 1. I got to hide my Japanese stuff here because Dan hasn't posted his Russia yet. For our game. All right, so those are your Axis for day 1. Double checking the comments. Nobody said anything. All right, here we go. Who is going to play Richard and Ray day 1? Let's see here. We've got Madman and Moose Cow. Very nice. All right, you boys will be allies day 1. Next up, we've got this team is called Bad Religion. A.K.A. Pagan and the Priest. We are playing Colonel Teflon and Detroit, Pagan and the Chaplain. That's myself and Pagan. I'm playing out of a joy of the game. And because we needed 8 teams. So, very cool. All right, and then playing General Fund and Lieutenant Dan is 2 crappy misfits, Greg and CJ. You boys will be allies day 1. And then last but not least, it's going to be Jason and Tom playing Hambone and Parker. All right, so Axis day 1, Allies day 1. I'll write that out and send it to the group text. I think that's it. I think that's all I had to do. Not as exhilarating as I thought it would be. However, I am excited for these matchups. I think it's going to be a good time. Guys, I'm ready for this. Like, I don't think you understand how ready I am to sit down and play some Axis and Allies with you guys. I love playing on YouTube with Lieutenant Dan. I love watching the other YouTube games, but there's just something different about throwing dice against somebody. You know, you get hyped up, you get amped up, you can shout and hoot and holler, kind of like VK on a regular day. But anyway, that's it. I'm the chaplain. I'll be praying for you.